Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
April 23rd, 2018.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Each time I see a little girl of 5 or 6 or 7, I can't resist a joyous urge to smile and say thank heaven.
Little girl.
Oh, little girls.
Can you imagine the song being written today, let alone produced? All right, it's enough already. This is a family show. I can't imagine anyone writing such a song, having the song published, anyone doing a movie with a guy singing about little girls, but that's the world we live in today. So here it is, hour 2 of the Savage Nation. If you just tuned in, I'm sorry to tell you that you missed the first hour, and I'm in Washington, D.C., reporting live from the nation's capital. Just back from a breakfast in the West Wing in the Naval Dining Room. God knows who knew there was a Naval Dining Room. Coffee was great, as you would expect. The U.S. Navy's in charge of the dining room, and the coffee was great. I love those dining rooms. Makes you feel like you're a sea captain, you know, like one of the officers. Everything is perfect, all the cutlery. So different than what I am used to in my life with the takeout food from Chinese restaurants and feeding seagulls old bagels. But, you know, while waiting in the anteroom, looked at the great art. But anyway, we got around to the fact of why I'm in Washington. Why would I travel halfway, like across the country, not halfway, all the way, and have to go all the way back at the end of the week, just for lunch? Yes. Because tomorrow, the President and the First Lady are having the first state dinner for France. And I will be at the state luncheon hosted by Vice President Pence, where I hope I meet President Macron. But truthfully, I'm being treated very well. They love me. They know that the books are very important, Trump's War especially, to the battle for America. They understand what it means. But I was joking around. I mean, look, the news is so terrible right now that I don't want to talk about the van driver. I don't want to talk about the waffle job. I can't do it. It's enough already. I know the Pompeo nomination is coming up. This guy is the best. West Point, the real McCoy. And what are the leftists going to do? They're going to vote him down just to spite Trump. How could you vote for a country that has people like this, that would vote people down just to get a point over against Trump? Pompeo's as good as they come. He's the American dream. Italian-American man, a great soldier, a Harvard graduate. Why would they vote him down? Why? Because they're stupid. They're going to put like a ninny in there. But on the, on a comedic level, I said to you, what is France? If I say France to you, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Because to me, it's hard to say. I don't know what France makes. I don't want to kill my deal before I even walk into the lunch. I do drink something, but you don't have a 95, a case of it that I got from the best wine I ever had in my life. There's 95 Centimillion. It's a class of its own. But I don't know what else they make that I can think of. Italy, say Italy, Ferrari. You say Czechoslovakia, pornography. I don't know what else. It's just the way the world is associational. So if I say to you, what does the word France trigger in you? What do you think of? All right? I'm going to take some calls on this, because I'm not talking about waffles, or I'm not talking about cars. Let's start with caller number, I don't know, what caller? KSFO, Bert, line 6. When I say France, what do you think of?
I think of frogs, Michael. Frogs.
Why? Why frogs?
Because that's what they called them in the Second World War, and I've eaten frog legs in France, and they're delicious.
But why would you still associate the French people with frogs?
That's just because I have a strange sense of humor, just like you.
All right, so but you're not from World War II, the World War II era, are you?
No. I'm not that old, but
But you still carry around the idea they call them frogs. It's like calling the English limeys, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, why did you think they call the English limeys?
Because when they were at sea, they were trying to cure scurvy, and they would put limes in their drinks. That was the only vitamin C they could get a hold of. That's what I...
You're a very educated, literate bigot. You really know the truth.
I'm not a bigot.
But you have a good sense of humor. How many people even know what limey means? They had limes on the boat to keep from getting scurvy.
I know. No,
that was before even people knew what scurvy was. Well, thank you. I'd like to give you a prize. What can I send you?
Give me your book. I want to see what...
Which book do you want? God, Faith, and Reason?
Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, can you send that to me?
You got it. You got it, man. Stay in the line. You got it, man. Stay in the line. All right, I say France. What do you think of? Line 7, Ava, WABC. What comes to your mind when I say France?
The first thing I think of, unfortunately, is terrorism.
But the French aren't terrorists.
No, they're not. However, they have a very large occupation. People are either they're legally or illegally, and they are committing terrorist acts.
So you identify France with too much terrorism?
Yes, I do.
Are you very into this subject, Ava?
Yes, I am.
So what would you have France do? Deport them all?
Well, I would have the police, every time I hear that, they say, well, they were on the radar.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Well, we had this nut, the Waffle House nut was on the FBI radar. They did nothing. They took his guns away. They gave them to the father. The father gave him back to the nut. That's like saying a sea captain, we saw the iceberg on the radar, and I'm sure that we did the right thing because we saw the iceberg on the radar, but we hit the iceberg anyway.
Exactly.
Right? That's what you're saying. We hit the iceberg. Yeah, we did the right thing. We saw it on the radar, but we did nothing. We didn't steer the ship away from it. You make a good point. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. No, very, very, very nice. You're playing word association. Bill, KLIF in Dallas, Texas, line 3. When I say France, what do you think of?
I think of an interesting change in history. This is the country that helped us gain our independence from England, the country that came to Yorktown. They sent their fleet up. They gave us the Statue of Liberty. And I think of a country that has been an ally with us in time. They helped us gain our independence, and in turn we liberated them in 2 world wars.
La peur de la police et le début de la sagesse. Do you speak French?
I'm afraid I do not.
Well, you certainly know French history, and you're right. They've been with us almost shoulder to shoulder in many battles, including the one you mentioned in 1781, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know what? History is very important for all of us to know. And in that sense, I believe this is why this is very symbolic that the first state dinner for this presidency would be that with France. In that, we do share a common history in battles, don't we?
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, thank you for reminding our listeners on the Savage Nation to that effect. Let's keep this up for a few more minutes. WABC, Yoel, on line 1. What's on your mind today, sir?
First of all, I want to say congratulations. Well-deserved for the breakfast and lunch tomorrow.
You know what? That's very, very nice of you, and I'll tell you, as an immigrant son, it's a great deal for me. It means a great deal to me.
I started listening to you like a year and a half or 2 years ago, right before the election. You made me love this country and appreciate it even more than I am. And I wish you're going to be able to tell the president one thing that there, and one of them is the one that came here to work and happy for the chance that he got to build himself, and one that tried to milk the system. And the one that came here to work and progress themselves are supporting him.
You're saying the immigrants who come here to work support him, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, there is a big difference between the elite class and the working class amongst immigrants. And there's a very big dividing line. And we all know that not all immigrants come here to suck off the system. Believe me. You got to be blind. Like today I got into a car at the hotel to take me over to the radio station here at Westwood One. So the guy at the front, his name was Ishmael. The driver was of a Muslim named Muhammad. And it's a funny thing. So I say to the guy in the front, he said, my name is Ishmael. I said, did you ever read Moby Dick? I figured never would I hear him say yes. He said, yes, someone gave me Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I said, that's amazing. I said, call me Ishmael. He got the joke. So, there are amazing people out there. Thank you for calling. How many people know what I'm saying? Call me Ishmael. But the thing is, it's in Moby Dick. But even the immigrant knew Moby Dick. How do you like that? So don't assume that everyone has a certain kind of name. They're a certain way. That's called prejudice, by the way. The truth is, I'm not lecturing you. It is. It's easy to do. It's easy to fall into, say, blank are all blank, right? Blanks are all this, blanks are all that. Like saying Irish are all drunks. Is that true anymore? No. Was it ever true? No. That was when the Irish were resented by the people who were living here, so they turned them all into drunks. You know, it's like saying that about it. It's like slurs against any people. It's the same thing today in many ways. It's a very, very difficult topic to deal with, especially those of us in the public eye, because if we say one wrong syllable, let alone an apostrophe, we get condemned for it. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not just like smoothing it over. You cannot oversimplify a complete nationality or a complete race. On the other hand, it is a crime against the people to lie about certain acts that seem to occur all too often amongst certain nationalities that we are letting into this country. I think that's an issue as well. And I hope that you understand where I'm coming from. The phone number here is 855-400-7282. When I come back, I may do the news of the day. Some of it's pretty hot. The 5 dead in Toronto is a horrible story, but what shall I say about it? What can you say? Nothing. She said to me, well, your job is to say something about it. All right, I have nothing to say about it. Then you got the Waffle House guy. The guns were taken away. They gave him back to the father, gave him back to the nut. The FBI failed us. That's what I can say about that. They failed completely. Oh, they saw the iceberg and they smashed into it. Okay, sorry to say it. What else is in the news? Well, Senate committee poised to vote against Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State. This guy is great. Why would they attack Pompeo? Can anyone, you want to make it political for a minute? Tell me what's wrong with Mike Pompeo to be Secretary of State. Can anyone listening to this show who is a progressive, which means you're a regressive, who hates America, tell me what you have against Pompeo as Secretary of State? If you could hold a candle to this man's accomplishments, you'd be a great man. It is 17 minutes after the hour, almost 18 minutes after the hour. It's the Savage Nation again. Phone number is 855-400-7282. I'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 23rd, 2018.
My favorite, Edith Piaf. She got me through my 18th year. Those are the great days of the West Village on sawdust. Sawdust floored bars. All right, Edith Piaf. So I'm going to the French luncheon tomorrow. It's a big deal for me. Make a mockery of it, if you will. Oh, big deal. Oh, you're in the White House, the West Wing. Big deal. Big deal to me. Immigrant son, real big deal. It's been a long road getting here. So I was on a Drudge Report this morning, and I saw an odd story. It said, robots could outnumber humans in just 15 years and will feel genuine emotions. I was tired, but I said it sounded like Queens College when I was 18 years old. Like the girls. That's why I left New York, was it? Robots could outnumber humans in just 15 years and will feel genuine emotions. Like the girls at Queens College when I was 18. So I fled New York. Look what I found in San Francisco, rim shot. But getting back to the one-word associational thing, is anyone laughing out there? Don't you find any of this humorous? I do. Hello. Notice I haven't said the word Comey or Mueller once, or lock her up. Isn't it refreshing not to have to listen to that garbage every day? Mueller, Comey, lock her up. No buzzwords. So when I say to you, what, Italy, you're going to think Ferrari. I guarantee you. If I say France, what do you think of? Right? And I got some great callers on it. It can lead to interesting discussion. That's the whole point. WABC Lou, when I say France, Lou, what do you think of?
The first thing I think of usually is Bordeaux, a great Bordeaux, and Marcel Proust, one of the great.
All right, so I mean, I've been drinking 1995 Saint-Emilion, the best wine I ever had in my life. What's your favorite Bordeaux?
I really don't have a favorite one, to be honest with you. I just like French wine. You know.
Okay, and when you think of Marcel Proust, what? Remembrances of Things Past?
Remembrances of Things Past, absolutely, yeah.
So if I say Remembrances of Things Past, what comes to your mind?
Imagination, the power of the imagination, the beauty.
Well, it's an interesting discussion that we can have on this, and we don't have a lot of time. But when you say, okay, when he was eating petite madeleines, little chocolate cakes, his whole childhood came back to him, right? That's where remembrance of things past, that's one of the things it's about. Okay. So, yes, I understand that. And I was talking about imagination. I talk about it all the time. In many ways, I've tried to keep the childlike essence of my brain alive, which is not easy to do, but on the other hand, I have no option.
Right. And
so, as an older man, would you say your imagination is still alive?
Oh, absolutely. And I see yours is too. You know, you have that. I love it when you go on the stream of consciousness. It reminds me sometimes of Bruce and
yeah, but I don't eat chocolate cakes. That's the only difference. That we are different. No, but I understand.
The other thing that came to mind, just one more thing, was the great scene from Casablanca.
Which one? In which one? When Rick says what?
When Rick thinks back to the times in Paris.
When he thinks back to what?
The times in Paris with Ilsa in Casablanca.
Oh. I don't know. I've seen the movie many times. It just doesn't move me anymore. I don't know what's so great about that movie anymore. I mean, but, different things move different people. Black and white movies are great. Thank you for the call. Lorraine, KLIF Dallas. When I say France, what do you think of?
So I think of amazing food, beautiful food, chocolates and buttery sauces and
everything I don't eat.
Wine with everything. I love it. It's just.
But do you eat it there or here? I mean, you eat food there, French food there or in Texas?
It's a lot of work to make. I don't make it very often. I have a friend.
Isn't it too rich for us today to eat food like that? Such heavy food.
I'm a fan of butter, so I don't.
Well, my mother was too. She lived to 88. She said it's good for your skin.
It's good for everything.
Well, I remember butter in Last Tango in Paris. There's a different connotation in that regard.
I had a great.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It's a nice lady. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Le Bear. You remember that scene in Last Tango in Paris? Does anyone even know what I am talking about? Maybe my references are so esoteric no one knows what I'm talking about. Butter, Last Tango in Paris? I mean, Last Pango in Paris? Tango in Paris or Pango in Paris?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Michael Savage back with you here on the Savage Nation. Live from the nation's capital, courtesy of Westwood One Studios. Beautiful studios, by the way. I still have a huge audience here. Everyone here came over and said hello to me. How are you? Except the person who took me off the station. Wonder what that's about. No, everyone loves me. Even the business manager loves me. My audience listens to me online. What can I do? So here we are, and I'm asking you, if you were me, just for a minute, you're in Washington, you're riding high, things are going well. You're going to go to the lunch tomorrow, the French state luncheon. Vice President Pence so kindly is hosting that one. And you had, let's say, a minute with the President of France, given the times we are in. And you and me, what would you say to him in that 1 minute? I don't think I'm going to do the wise guy line, la peau de la police est la début de la sagesse. I don't know what I'm going to say. It's a clever line, but what does it have to do with anything? If my audience can come up with something better, I'll say it. But so far, that's not bad. Because the French like wit. Let me tell you that right now. And they like a turn of phrase. But what would you say to him? Thanks for your help in Lebanon. I mean, thanks for your help in Syria. Thanks for bombing a man who didn't ace his own people. I mean, thanks for joining us in an attack on Assad, who did nothing to his own people except try to liberate them from ISIS. I mean, what would you say to them? I don't know. I'm going to stay away from politics. A little worried about the food. I mean, everyone there, it can't be too many people. I read there's only like 100 and some odd people at the dinner. How many people could be at the lunch? 50? Let me know what plate I'm sitting at. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to eat any polonium souffle. So I got to be very careful tomorrow. So if I say France, what comes to your mind? Come on. What do you think of? KSFO Online, William, line 1. If I say France, what do you think of?
First thing I think of is the French salute. I surrender.
I knew I was going to get one of those today.
There's one more good thing about that. You got to remember this. It's better to die on your feet than on your knees. That comes from an old vet, so.
Well, I had great French fries today, I have to tell you. That's got nothing to do with anything, but I had him in the hotel before coming to the radio station. I had my one hamburger a month. I had one today with fries. Why do things taste better in a good hotel? I mean, it's a hamburger and French fries, but it was so perfect. It was like they must have made the potatoes there, right? What do you know? I don't know. Thanks, I surrender. No, I don't want to get into the surrender fries thing. Right now, they're going to kill a good man there on the Senate thing and the committee. I don't like this. The viciousness of the left, the stupidity. That's why we're in trouble. Why would a Senate committee vote against Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State? I actually asked you out there, what reason would you have to vote him down? Other than you're a Democrat who hates everything. You're a Democrat who hates America. You're a Democrat who hates white males. What reason would you have to vote down Pompeo? I don't know of one reason. Do you? Senate committee. Nonsense. Just nonsense. If you could match what Pompeo has achieved in his life, you'd be a wonderful man. I don't get this. They vote against... Do we have any callers on that? I'd like to hear from one progressive who has one rational reason to vote down Pompeo for Secretary of State. Who do you want, John Kerry? You want John Kerry back, a wonderful man with a fake Purple Heart. Not only a fake Purple Heart, the man gave his whole nation a broken heart. Everything he did was a broken heart for this nation. All right, whatever. If you say to me, France, I mean, seriously, I don't just say wine. I think Cézanne. I think of Van Gogh. I think Gauguin. I think of the Impressionists. Certainly, that's part of the legacy. I collect French bronzes from the 1880s, 1890s, 1900 era. I think of French art of that time. So, I mean, it's a nation steeped in art. Maybe you say it's from another time. But America has a great tradition in art. Look at the paintings in the museums of this country, and I mean even paintings of America. You're not too far from a museum if you live in a city. You can go see some great art painted by early American painters. I was very lucky to see the art in the West Wing today. I didn't know they had such a collection. It's as you would expect, it surpasses that of most museums. These are some great paintings by Hill and whatnot. And, I said, wow, I didn't know they had art like this, but it was outside the president's office and outside the vice president's office. You would expect that, wouldn't you? I couldn't believe the security. I mean, as you would expect. I mean, I visited President Mar-a-Lago. The security was awesome. Well, without specifying details, it's unbelievable. Like 3-inch bulletproof glass at the guardhouse, and with the tags and the going in and the going out, and the last 4 digits of your this and that. Very impressive. You know, you're like in an armed camp. That's the world that we live in. Then you wake up and you got the waffle thing, and then you got the maniac with the van. They still haven't identified him. The minute I see a Ryder van, I know already what's coming. The beard's coming. Show me a rented Ryder van, I know a beard's coming. Thank God they kept the bomb out of his hand, but look what he just did with a rental van. Kept going, runs people over. They haven't identified him yet. They're trying to figure out how to smooth it over, how they can, parse it. We knew of him. We knew who he was. We had him on the radar while we were looking at him. The Royal Canadian Mounties were following him on a certain horse, but they let him go just a second before. They were about to grab him off the street. We watched him. He was on radar. We knew he was coming in. He shouldn't have been here. We watched him. We knew he was no good. We were going to get him any second, but we didn't. It shows how great the nation is, that we don't arrest people for no reason. It's a shame he killed so many people, but you should know we live in a free nation, and as a result of the freedom, 9 people are dead. Thank you very much. I'm going back to my ballet lesson. What else is he going to say? Frank on WABC line 4. What's on your mind? When I say France, what do you think of?
Hey, Uncle Michael. How you doing? I really appreciate you taking my call. Okay.
I am like Uncle Michael, and Uncle Michael goes to Washington. Uncle Michael goes to the West Wing. Uncle Michael goes to the French luncheon.
Yes, sir. So here are the 2 things that they've given us that mean the world to me. Okay, so the first one, I believe they gave us the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
And the second one would be Baron Wilhelm von Steuben, and he was a military advisor for General George Washington, the British, and he provided a booklet that taught and provided rigid amounts of discipline and order to the armies or militiamen that we had. And without him, I don't think we would be who we are today.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. So the French commander who advised Washington was sort of like when we send our special forces to nations to advise them?
That is correct.
Wow. And what was his name? General who?
No, he wasn't a general. He was Wilhelm Stubing. I believe it was Baron von Stubing.
Yeah, but that's a German name. How did he come from France?
I'm not sure.
You sure he was French and not German?
I'm more than sure he was French.
Yeah, because it turned out the Germans helped us in the war against the British. Was it the Germans or the French? I don't know that part of history. But you make an interesting point, is that Washington and his ragtag troops needed an advisor, just as we send advisors out to other nations today who are developing into a full nation state, correct? That's interesting. I never knew that. He's gone, thank you. Well, that's interesting, that. We can do this for another few minutes. Let me pick up another country. Wait, drop this on France. Open some lines up. Russia. I say Russia. What comes to your mind? Don't lie to me. It's national radio. If I say Italy, I guarantee you say Ferrari. No, you're going to say pizza? No, Italy, Ferrari. That's the association in most. You say Russia. What do you say now? Collusion? You that brainwashed? What's the first thing? What do you associate Russia with? The Kremlin? No. Beautiful women? I don't know. Gold diggers? I don't know what you think of. Someone you don't want to marry because you're afraid their cousins will show up in your house 3 weeks later and kill you? I don't know what you think of when you say Russian. There goes the Russian state. Then, oh, God, I got to be careful. God, thinking out loud can get you in trouble. It's nice to play it safe and say collusion, Mueller, lock her up, every day. But look, I'm a mirthful guy. People got to understand a lot of this is just, me just thinking out loud. And I hope they forgive me. If not, it's their problem. What am I supposed to do about it? It's like I said to you, I was at the breakfast this morning. So like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I said, I didn't like the Syrian missile thing. There was no evidence so I don't think that they were too happy hearing it. But as I said, I'm so far into being who I am, I can't go back out of the envelope. I can't unthread the needle of who I am. Do you get that? It's like I'm out there on the radio as who I am and how I am and what I think. So if I get into a meeting, even with the most powerful people on earth, and they're asking me a question, I'm going to tell them something that other than what I think. Listen, I don't have any Section 8 housing to hide. Listen, I didn't get any HUD money for properties while telling you I'm a great American. I'm a great American. I'm a great American. You're a great American. I'm a great American. I'm a great HUD scammer. I'm a great American. I'm a great HUD scammer. Wait till it comes out tomorrow. Watch Section 8 money. Watch that one. Close down the government. We want small government. Mr. Obama's no good. We want small government. We like his HUD money. Wow, what a scandal this is. I'm not going to say much more about it because I don't have to say another word. That tree is creaking. I can hear it cracking in the forest. And I had nothing to do with it. It catches up to you. You can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all of the time. But you can't fool all of the savages all of the time.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Back to the Savage Nation. We'll get back to the news, views, and reviews you used to, but I want to talk to you about something very important, which is your car. You ever take it in for an oil change, a mechanic finds something wrong, and bingo, you hit with a repair bill you didn't expect? It's happened to every one of us at some point in our life. Well, when you have extended vehicle protection like I do from CarShield, you don't have to worry about this unexpected surprises. Listen, if your car breaks down after the manufacturer's warranty expires, you could be out of pocket thousands to get it fixed, replacing your engine alone. Many thousands. Even a simple repair to a sensor today could cost over $1,000. And there's nothing simple about today's cars. CarShield makes the process of fixing your car for a covered repair super easy. You can have your favorite mechanic or dealership do the work. It's your choice. They also give you 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. So if your car is 5,000 to 150,000 miles, it doesn't mean you have to pay high repair bills. CarShield administrators have paid out close to $2 billion in claims, and they're ready to help you. Save yourself thousands in future car repairs. Listen to me carefully. Get covered by the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. All you got to do is call 800-CAR-6100 and mention code SAVAGE. 800-CAR-6100, code SAVAGE, or visit carshield.com, code SAVAGE, and you will save a big 10%. That's carshield.com, code SAVAGE, or call 800-CAR-6100. and mention code SAVAGE. A deductible may apply. It's been fun so far. I mean, I went to a breakfast unexpected, not at Tiffany's, but in the West Wing. I'm here at Westwood One Studios in Washington, D.C. It's been, I mean, the ride here alone from the hotel downtown to here, seeing Washington, the real Washington on Embassy Row, and the houses and the people, how safe and clean this part of the city is compared to the dysfunction that the vermin in the media want you to believe Washington's a rat hole and no good and everything's wrong and everything's broken and there's crime and you can't walk in a park. A total lie. Everything that these people touch in the media, they turn into a nightmare. Of course there are bad neighborhoods. We know that. There's also good neighborhoods. Why don't you report on that? I love Washington. I hope you do too. And we've been talking about the French dinner tomorrow, actually the French luncheon that I'll be invited to, and we've done word associations thus far. If I say France, what do you think of? If I say Russia to you, what do you think of? What comes to your mind? First thing is Ukrainian women. Right, you think of beautiful women, you marry, and 5 years later you look like Stalin's housewife. Immediately. That's what you think of. Borscht, and the most gorgeous women on the planet, 5 years later, they're like a babushka and a bottle of vodka, and you go away, I don't want to look at you. They look like Stalin's housekeeper. I'm joking now, because there'll probably be a Russian state dinner after this collusion thing is over, and I want to go to the breakfast and have caviar and beluga caviar at that. So I just got a call from the hotel. Mrs. Savage is there, so she said, where are you? I said, what do you mean, where am I? I said, I'm in the radio station. She said, oh my God, the time is so different than California. I said, yes, I'm on the air right now. So she said, I know the town is full of Frenchmen. I said, how? She said, they're looking at women. They're looking at me. She's so different than San Francisco. She's walking with my sister-in-law who lives here. They're older women. They're very attractive women. She's a friend of men are all well-dressed. They're all looking at women. They look at you. They talk loudly. I said, so different than San Francisco where they don't look at women, right? No, she said, they don't look at women. That's a real difference, isn't it? What are they looking at in San Francisco other than women? What's there to look at in the street? The architecture? The bums? What are you looking at? Looking at themselves in a mirror, looking at themselves in an iPhone? She said, no, the men are actually talking in the street loudly to each other in a conversation. And the French are known for conversation, by the way. They have a great background in literacy, incidentally. That's something that's sadly missing in our society, and you can blame anybody you want. There's no point in pointing a finger at that one. So here we are. It's coming to an end of hour 2. There's another hour of the Savage Nation. There's nothing more that I can tell you that you don't already know about the horrors of the day. The van terror. The police are taking credit already. They have it under control. 9 dead, 16 injured, and they haven't identified the beard yet who did it. But the rental van is there, but you haven't seen yet the perp. They're trying to figure out how to parse it. A psychiatric case, lone wolf, not terrorism. Although he aimed at everyone, tried to kill him, baby strollers included. It wasn't terrorism. It had nothing to do with racial things and nothing to do with nationalism. Just a nut. We had him on the radar. We were looking at him. We almost got him. We almost caught him. We almost had him. But we let him go because we live in a free society. It's a wonderful thing to live in a free society. It's the same thing with the gun nut at the Waffle House. The FBI, they saw him. They had him. They saw him. We took his guns away and gave him back to him through the father, but we are satisfied that we did everything perfectly at the FBI, and we're giving the guy who gave the guns back a reward. We're giving the FBI agent who returned the guns to the father a gold medal from the FBI, because as a free society, we have to continue to have freedom in a free society. In order to maintain our freedom, we must continue to be stupid as possible. In order to maintain our freedom, we must be as idiotic as possible. Well, that's the world we live in, and guess what? I have to navigate the waters. Meanwhile, this afternoon, the Senate committee is going to vote on whether to vote up Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State or vote him down. Why would they vote this man down? I did invite you to call. I said, any people out there who would vote Pompeo down, tell me why. Give me a reason. I have not got one call. That could either mean that there are no so-called leftists who listen to the show, or you don't even know who Pompeo is. You think I'm talking about Pompey? No. I'm not talking about Caligula. I'm talking about Mike Pompeo, not Caligula. If I say Russia, you say ballet. If I say, what would you say to the president of France if you were me tomorrow? I'll probably be in a receiving line. 2 custom-made suits. I already burned one up for breakfast. Now, I'm a funny guy. I could wear a suit for like a thing and nothing gets creased on it. I was known for that even in college because I was so poor that I took good care of my clothes. I have like a certain way of wearing things where I don't sweat and I don't like ruin the crease in the suit. I get like a double or a triple wear out of everything. People used to say that to me in college. How come you don't smell? I said, I'm afraid to smell because it'll ruin my clothes. I'll have to buy new clothes. Anyway, listen, it's been fun. It's the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282. I'll be right back. Be here or be nowhere.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Well, here I am live in Washington, D.C. I'm really as excited as a kid with a new train set. The truth is, the media does not ever show you the truth on everything. I was never in Washington, maybe once 40 years ago, National Aeronautics and Space. But what image do I have of Washington from the media? Crime, pollution, dysfunction. The exact opposite. Coming here to this studio today at Westwood One in a taxi past Embassy Row, it was like a pristine, beautiful part of the city. So you say, well, there's parts that are bad. True everywhere. Does the media ever show you the good part of anything? Do they ever show you the good part of a president, whether it be this one or that one? Does it ever show you anything but dysfunction and horror and madness and badness? No. Anyway, it's an amazing thing for this kid, immigrant son, to have had breakfast in the West Wing in the Naval Dining Room. I got to tell you, I wasn't jaded, and I'm not jaded. I'm not going to say, oh, big deal, I had breakfast in the West Wing. Well, maybe you've seen the West Wing in television and in movies, as have I, but to be there is another story. And I've been talking about that today and the things that I was asked that I could help with, mainly the environment, the wildlife, the elephants, things like that, and also cleaning up the airs and the water. I mean, they know where I'm at with that. So we did a heavy-duty meeting for an hour on all of that stuff, on what I could do to help them. And they asked me, what are they interested in? I said, as Cato the Elder in the ancient Roman days said, they're not interested in whether the legions are in Germania and who they're conquering. The ancient Roman was interested in the pebble in the shoe, meaning the price of wheat, the price of meat, the cost of leather, just like today, the cost of gasoline, the cost of milk, the cost of gas. That's what the people are interested in. That's basically it, and they don't want any war. They do not want foreign wars. And I said, I'm sorry I had to disagree with the president on it, but there was no evidence that Assad did it. So I was pretty straight up. I mean, I didn't mince words. No matter who I'm with, that's who I am. There's no point in going back now. I'm too far in to ever go back again from here. You know what I'm saying? It's like too late for me to turn around. Here we are on the Savage Nation, live from D.C., as I said. If you care to call the show on the news of the day, on Trump's war. Yeah, I brought the book, by the way, to the breakfast and gave it out to two people. I won't say who. They still think it's the most important book ever written about this presidency because the entire agenda is in that book. And I'll tell you something else. Here's what I said. I said, you know, this is a war, a long war. And while we have lost some battles, we have not yet lost the war. And as in any war, you're going to lose some battles, but it doesn't mean you can't win the war. And I said, I'm here to help you right to the end to win this war. I mean, I was with you from the beginning, which they all know. That's why I'm here. They said you're the only one who's been here from the beginning. Believe me, they know. Okay? They know. Never mind what you hear on the radio. They know who's who, and they know what's what. So they said, you've been from the beginning. I said, I'm going to be here with you to the end. And I've read about enough battles going back to ancient Greek battles to tell you that this war is far from over. And the left, the Democrats, are far from taking the House, let alone let's not worry about 2020. Never mind what their friends in the media tell you. Okay? It's a far from sure thing that they're going to get any wins in the House. Maybe some. Don't assume it's going to be a bloodbath against Republicans. Don't buy the bad news, because I don't see it that way. And their worst enemy is themselves. What are they going to get up with? Scream about white privilege and how evil men are? That's their whole campaign, is race warfare, class warfare, sex warfare. That's not going to sell in middle America. If that's the only message they have, you got nothing to worry about. So stick to your course, I said. Just stick to your course, do the right thing, keep the economy going, make peace, not war, and you're going to win again. That was my advice, and I'm going to help them do it, by the way. This is just the beginning for me. This is not the end. It's not like a reward with the ice cream, you know what I'm saying? I'm here for a reason. I'm here to help them on policy as an outsider, because I speak to the people. I got to tell you that you're the people. This audience is the people. And I'll quote something. Back in March 12th, 2017, there was an article on WorldNet Daily that said Trump said I wouldn't be president without this man. And out of the blue, I received this article the day before I left from someone I hadn't seen in many years. Without this man, I wouldn't be president. Well, it's not about me, it's about him. Because right now, I want you, the audience, to understand we're battling for the soul of America. It's not about the man. It's not even about the presidency. It's about the nation. Do you understand that? Do you get it? Look, I'm watching the same thing you're watching. The van, the empty van. There's no story there. We know the Waffle House shooter, a maniac. The FBI had him and didn't arrest him. What do you want me to say about it that you don't know? I'm going to do my show. I'm going to talk about my breakfast in the West Wing and what it means to an immigrant son. How long a road this has been. I am going to talk about Washington crossing the Delaware and what it means to me, even when I was a little boy. I am going to talk about what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell you right now what I'm here for. I didn't come here, by the way, to have breakfast in the West Wing. I was only invited to breakfast last night as I had a drink in the secret bar in the basement of the hotel, the place everyone goes to be seen and not heard. And, man, it was so good to get off that plane and have the wine and the food. But I was then invited over to breakfast at 9 a.m. I didn't plan on being there. I thought I'd do this show. Tomorrow's the big day. So what is tomorrow? What did I come to town for? Again, it was food. It's always about food with me. Well, President of France is here. As you know, he's having a state dinner, the first state dinner of the Trump administration. I could not wrangle an invitation to the state dinner for a number of reasons. One, it's a very small number of people. It is mainly diplomatic staff. There are very few tickets assigned by the president and his immediate family by themselves. So they put on a French state luncheon where the vice president will be hosting, Mr. Pence, and the president of France, I assume, will be in attendance, and I'm invited to that, which is a big deal. And so when I then see the president afterwards, he's going to say to me, well, are you coming to dinner tonight? I know him. I say, no, I only got the small dinner, le petit déjeuner. I know what's going to happen. I just know it. He probably thinks I'm here for the dinner when he meets me tomorrow. I'll tell him, no, I only got the lunch. I got the little dinner. But it's a big deal for me, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's what I came here for. You came all this way for lunch? Spent all that money for lunch? Yeah. And take a guess what I'm going to say to the president of France. You'll never guess. Whoever does is going to win a free prize, because you'll never guess. There is a phrase in the Bible, Proverbs 1:7, which says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction, right? But the French sarcastically changed the fear of the Lord as the beginning of knowledge into the fear of the police is the beginning of wisdom. So if I get to shake the president of France's hand, which I'm sure I will, I'm going to say, le peu de la police est le début de la sagesse, which is the same thing as the fear of the police is the beginning of wisdom. I guarantee you I get a laugh out of him. I hope he doesn't think, therefore, I speak perfect French, because I don't, but I think if there's a French speaker in the audience, you can tell me if I mispronounce the word la peu, the fear, la peu de la police et le début de la sagesse. I think you'll like that very much, but I've been saving that one up for a long time. No, it's a big deal for me. I've always liked the French. I mean, don't put them down just because we didn't like them. Like, for 1 year, we weren't allowed to like them. Remember when you didn't eat French fries? There was like a stupid period in America, like 10 years ago. I don't eat French fries. I'm against the French. I didn't even know what it was about. I've always liked French fries. In that sense, I share something with Michelle Obama. There's nothing wrong with French fries. I wonder what they're going to serve tomorrow. I can't imagine. Probably too rich for me, but I'll have to eat it anyway. Well, I know many of you are calling. You want me to talk about the high-speed van running people over, arrested after fleeing, but no one knows who he is yet. They'll probably say it's a man known to the police, had mental problems, but you'll never see him. Months later, they'll identify him. Well, that's the way it is. The other one you know already, the white nut. That one already has been shown. What a maniac that one was with the waffles. Jeez. But what can you do? It's over. So tomorrow will be another shooting somewhere. Look, the fact of the matter is we live in a time of madness. It's a time of peace. It's a time of war. It's a time of love. It's a time of hate. Well, how do you live through these moments? How are you supposed to navigate your way through times of madness? You're afraid to go out of the house. You're shut in. You got to go about your business and lead your life as though it's still a good world. There's no other way to do it. You cannot let the madmen, you cannot let the terrorists dictate your life. And these are very worrisome times. There's no question about it. Crazy people with vans, with guns, with waffles, with knives. You see the one last week in Ventura, California? A guy is eating with his wife and infant daughter on his lap. A man walks up and stabs him in the neck with a knife and kills him, a homeless man. But you can't say homeless because then you identify homeless with violence, and that violates the the official storyline of Wolf Blitzer. Homeless can't be violent. They're just victims. Victims are society. They fell through the cracks. Somehow we failed, the man with the knife. Every week you read about another violent homeless person. But you're not allowed to say it because then you're liable to get blamed for being anti-homeless or something. That would be homelessist, I suppose. There'd probably be a new movement. Homelessist of some kind. Or homeless phobia. Homeless phobic. That would be something. So people calling say, Michael, we're real proud of you that you made it to the West Wing. Tomorrow's even going to be greater. It will be a great day. Let's see what's in the front of the Washington Post here. Let's see the headline. The danger lurking in Raqqa's. Locals say U.S. reluctance to rebuild a Syrian city could open door to Assad or another ISIS. That's so stupid. They're blaming us now for the rubble in Raqqa, and we're supposed to rebuild a Syrian city? They ought to rebuild San Francisco first. Clean up the homeless in San Francisco before rebuilding Raqqa. Suspect in killing of 4 had guns taken away. Police say father returned AR-15 used in shooting at Tennessee Waffle House. The father returned the gun? Who's the father? Oh, no. I didn't know. Among the 4 weapons they took from Travis Reinking was an AR-15 semi-auto rifle that police say he used at the Waffle House on Sunday. 2 of the other guns are missing from Reinking's apartment. Reinking, 29, was trying to meet President Trump when he attempted to cross security barrier. What a nut. At the White House complex in July. Federal lawyers and revoked his firearm. Why did they arrest him? If you jump a barrier at the White House, it's absolutely clear you're a maniac. You have no controls over yourself. You're an idiot. You know you can be shot. You put him in jail. Anyone jumps the barrier, you go to jail. Why wasn't he put away? The guns, however, were later returned to Reinking's father. Oh, I don't want to read anymore. It's again a gun story. Oh, let's turn the page, A5, Washington Post, the Amazon Post, page A5. I do a lot of business with Amazon. I got to be careful. They sell all my books. They do. All my books are sold at Amazon. But I mean, it's such propaganda. Guns who were young, that he gave them back to his son. Very nice. So the police took the guns away, and the whack job's father gave him the guns back. So does that make the father culpable? Yes. Yes. Father now goes to jail. Under Illinois law, certain confiscated guns can be released to a family member, but Reinking could not lawfully possess the weapons in that state. It's unclear whether possessing the weapons was illegal in Tennessee. A woman who answered at a number registered to Reinking's relatives in Morton Hill said, "We have no comment." Another nut. I imagine that family, like the Calicax. Well, Thursday, the gunman wearing nothing but a green jacket. I don't want to read this story, though. Rifle's barrel was still hot when he grabbed. Who grabbed the gun? Oh, the hero who trapped him in the revolving door. I've gotten trapped in revolving doors. Thank God I wasn't like a nut. But you ever get caught in one of those spinning doors? So, imagine you're 5 years old in a revolving door in New York. How frightening they are. You know, your mother goes in one of the, and you go to the next, and it keeps spinning, and you never see her again.
I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Let's go to some sound bites that the Crackerjack team in Dallas, Texas put together for me on the Savage Nation. Let's go to this one because I found it on Saturday. It really bothered me. You know that professor at Fresno State? Professor. She called farmers as stupid Trump supporters in a video rife with F-bombs. She's that wonderful professor who hates the president. Unfortunately, for those of you of Arab descent, she's of Arab descent. Here is a woman who puts down people in her own area who support her university or college, Fresno State, as stupid. Listen to her in clip 1. Arab professor calls farmers stupid.
Fresno is one of those places where, like, a lot of the agriculture, a lot of the food, that Americans eat is grown there, or around there. And even though a lot of the farmers now are Trump supporters and just stupid, I'm inspired by several things. Usually my hatred for the man. And times I just say that I can't stand the white heteropatriarchy, and then sometimes I'm sucking a white.
This is a teacher. This is a university teacher, full of hate, full of violence, full of pornography, and she's an English professor. And by the way, she won an American Book Award last year. I've written 29 books. I never won a single award because the people who give the awards are stupider and more violent than she is. So that's a topic. What should I say to you? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? You can't do anything about it. The people who hide are stupider than she is. Why does anyone give money to Fresno State? You know, in Toronto here, that the president of Canada, Trudeau, is keeping a close eye on situation. Well, in the middle of ballet lessons, he's watching the news. Well, he's keeping he's monitoring it closely. Don't you love these standard phrases? The president or prime minister of Canada is monitoring the situation closely. Well, in the middle of ballet, he's got his foot up on the bar and he's monitoring it on the news. Come on, he's monitoring nothing. What could you do about it? The van hits the crowd? Talk about immigration? Talk about bringing people in who've never been vetted? God forbid. Wouldn't want to talk about that. So here's Michael Savage trying to make radio great again, one day at a time. Everyone's trying to make something great again. Donald Trump wants to make America great again. Now Macron says he's trying to make France. He speaks English beautifully, by the way. I wish I spoke French as well as he speaks English. Is this him or it's in translation? Let's hear clip 3. Here's the president of France, Macron.
All of us have a lot of faults and weaknesses. But I think the situation of my country is the best remedy of being arrogant. I'm here to serve my people and my country and make it great again. As somebody I know very well could say. But that's it. That's the whole story. And making great again means delivering good results, having more unity for the country, and being fair with the people.
Beautiful language. Le peu de la police et le début de la sagesse. I hope he doesn't ask me to become his advisor thinking that I know French if I say that. So I better not do it too well. I studied French for 7 years. I only know a few words. It's like Spanish. I studied it for 7 years. I only know a few words. Foreign languages are difficult. That's very amazing. You can speak so beautifully in our language. I only wish that some of the Democrats could match him, especially those who teach at Fresno State. Maybe they can get through a sentence without saying the F word. Why do they have to be so violent, pornographic? What's the point? They think the students will like them more to cover up their vacuity? Today we've been mentioning the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Scott Pruitt. Last year I interviewed Mr. Pruitt on the Savage Nation. Listen very carefully to what we discussed. Mr. Pruitt, welcome to the Savage Nation. A pleasure to have you on the program.
Michael, how are you this afternoon? It's good to be with you. I've got this wonderful book here, God, Faith, and Reason, but it wasn't signed, my friend. I get it signed.
I'm glad you got a copy. But you and I spoke on the phone a few weeks ago because we both have mutual interests in the conservation of the United States of America, airs, waters, and places. And I asked you, and I'll ask you again to tell all the listeners who are listening to the show now, what are your main goals as the head of the EPA?
Well, Michael, I think as we talked, and you think about just the way we approach regulation in this country, I think one of the things we have to address is what is true environmentalism. You know, what should be our focus? And I think the past administration had a focus of prohibition, and as opposed to stewardship. You know, this country's always been about recognizing that we've been blessed with natural resources that we should use to feed the world, empower the world, that we have an obligation to use those resources, but to do so with a stewardship mindset for future generations. And that's how you grow an economy and also reduce pollutants that you regulate under the Clean Air Act by over 65%, which is what we've done since 1980. It was the past administration that told you and me that we had to choose between jobs, growth, and management and environmental protection, and that's just simply a false choice. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have across the country is addressing the attitudes by which we regulate, but then also, Michael, as an extension of that, the agency over the last several years has been weaponized. It's been weaponized as against certain sectors of our economy, picking winners and losers. You know, saying that we favor renewables over fossil fuels. That's just simply not. It's wrong-headed. It's not consistent with the statute, and that's something else we're fixing. So we've got to.
Wait, I want to focus on this. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, was created in what year, Mr. Pruitt?
In 1972.
And who was the president at the time? Was it Nixon?
Yes, President Nixon.
Nixon, okay. So there was an outcry from a generation of people who wanted the earth to be a cleaner place. We all want clean air. We all want clean drinking water. We all want toxic waste dumps eliminated. Everybody agrees on that. The question is, how do we accomplish it? The prohibitionists say, eliminate cars, and now they're getting so crazy, they're saying eliminate people. They don't want to have babies, and they want humans to disappear from the planet. That's the extreme element of the left wing. What is your idea about the correct way to go about cleaning up our airs, waters, and places, Mr. Pruitt?
Well, look, Congress, you talk about the inception of the EPA. At the same time that the EPA was being created, Michael, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, those environmental statutes that we administer were also being adopted. And what was really key to those statutes? Federalism, partnership, states, the federal government recognizing that a one-size-fits-all strategy does not work very well. The water issues in Utah, the second most dry state in the country, are dramatically different than the issues that you see in Minnesota. And so this agency's always been about federalism principles, partnership with the states, recognizing that we need to work together to achieve good outcomes for air quality and water quality, and being specific in that partnership through plans that are adopted. So it was just this past administration that displaced all that. And so we're getting back to the basics, Michael.
You're getting back to sanity, but here's the problem. And I said this to the president, I've said it to yourself when we first talked, when you didn't know where I was coming from or whether you'd want to even be on the show. I said that we've lost the environmental discussion. We've been pushed into a corner by the radical left and the press into saying we're the polluters, we're the destroyers, and the good liberals are the saviors of the environment. But we also agreed, you and I, that the word conservation and the word conservative, the two words, have a similar root. We should be the ones who own the conservation movement, now called the environmental movement. And I guess what you and I should do is talk about some simple ideas that you might have to get that message across and what we can actually do to purify the environment. I think we talked about getting lead out of drinking water. Wasn't that a big issue?
One of the things we did in fact talk about lead in our drinking water. It's a major issue across the country, largely because of aged infrastructure. The president's talked about obviously a very important emphasis on infrastructure spending, but not just roads and bridges. I love what you put, Michael, how you put it. Let's get the lead out.
Can I tell the audience how I came up with that? Mr. Pruitt and I were speaking about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I said, when I was a kid, he told me that one of his priorities was getting lead out of drinking water, and I said you couldn't do anything better than that to start with. I mean, you can have all this sky-high plans for the environment, but you need to have something simple and important. And there's nothing more fundamental than clean water and clean air. Okay, so I said, Mr. Pruitt, when I was a kid in New York, there was a severe drought in the 50s, and they gave every one of us little school kids a little sticker to take home and put on our faucets, and you saw them everywhere. And on the faucet, we had little signs that said, "Don't be a drip, save every drop." And I still remember it many, many decades later. I said, what if we put out a campaign that said, "Get the lead out"? He loved it.
I love it.
I think the president loves it too, right?
He does, and it's a major part of our discussion. I'm a part of a group, a small portion of the cabinet, that have been talking through the last several months how the infrastructure spend should proceed with respect to these kinds of issues. And Michael, there are thousands of water systems across the country that we must look at to ensure safe drinking water. I don't think folks recognize, the Flint, Michigan situation was a tragic situation. But that kind of situation could occur in the near future unless we do what? Invest in infrastructure, invest in changes that can get the lead out of our drinking water. So it's a very important mission. Another area I'll mention to you, Michael, that I think is equally important are these Superfund sites, these sites that we have across the country that are worst of the worst, where pollution is in the soil, it's in the water, it's over decades, and the health of our citizens in those communities are at risk in St. Louis and Portland and Houston and Chicago, all over the country, 1,340 of those sites plus throughout the country. And some of those sites literally have taken 30 to 40 years since the inception of the program in the 1980s to actually get cleaned up. That's unacceptable. We ought to focus on that, and we are, in fact, and making decisions and getting accountability to remediate those sites so that people can use and repurpose those areas again in each of those cities across the country. So there's some very core, fundamental, I think, important things that we can do to improve environmental outcomes that just have not been the last several years. And this president is about action, getting results, You heard that from the State of the Union speech last week. Very inspiring, and I think the speech was inspiring because he talked about here's what we did, here's how it's making a difference, and here's what we're going to do in 2018. And that's what we're trying to do here at the EPA. Get away from this weaponization, Michael. Using regulatory power in a coercive, punitive way, declaring war on certain sectors of our economy. That's nowhere in the statutes. There's no authority that exists. That's just wrong.
I like what you said today in our phone call, that true environmentalism is stewardship, not prohibition. And it goes to I hate to refer back to God, faith, and reason, but I really have to, because the Bible itself talks about dominion over the earth and all the things that are in it, but dominion does not mean destruction. Dominion means exactly what you just said, which is stewardship. And I think we both agree that we have to protect our animal friends, protect the airs, waters, and places.
Yeah, stewardship is something. The past administration said, though we have natural gas, though we have coal, though we have all these natural resources, put up a fence, do not touch it, keep it in the ground. Which means that electricity rates go up. It means the people that can least afford it are the most, impoverished across the country. What we should be doing, Michael, is recognizing that we have responsibility to use those resources with stewardship mentality and making sure that we use the best equipment possible to reduce emissions.
Well, what is this? Look, you and I can get into a heated argument with the world here, and I don't know that we need to on our first public outing here on the Savage Nation. But I'm listening to the show through the ears of many, many people, as I do every day, and I know that the left that listens to me would be saying, but wait a minute, what about global warming? Why is this administration so vehemently opposed to doing anything about it? And my answer is not simple, but it's pretty direct. First of all, prove to me that we actually are having such drastic climate change, as you say, number one. And number two, why don't you listen to the evidence on the other side? And I always quote from my own research the Vostok ice core samples, which shows that carbon dioxide levels increased as a result of the Earth heating up. It did not drive the heating of the Earth. And that was based upon a 420,000 year ago ice core sample dug up from the bottom of the Antarctic. But if you present facts like this to the opposition, their minds close down because they won't listen to reason.
And Michael, I think the thing that is even, from our perspective and really emblematic of what's been wrong here at this agency for the last several years is that you also have to ask the question, what authority do we have under the Clean Air Act to regulate those issues to begin with? The last time the Clean Air Act was amended was 1990, 27 years ago. And if you ask people that were involved in those amendments, Congressman Dingell, not the most conservative member of Congress that served the U.S. House of Representatives, is famously quoted as saying to regulate CO2 under those amendments would be a glorious mess, quote unquote. So, sometimes people forget the only authority that we have here at this agency or any executive branch agency is the authority given to us by Congress. And if Congress hasn't acted, if they haven't given authority to us, if they've not amended a statute to say go forth and regulate these areas, whatever those areas might be, we can't just simply pinch hit. We can't make it up. And that's what's happened for several years, and that's why the last administration, that's why you saw WOTUS get struck down and CPP struck down, and they tried twice to regulate CO2, actually, and struck out twice. And so those are issues that matter as well, and not many people talk about that. I do want to say to you that earlier when you talked to me about the EPA's creation, I was thinking about the statutes that were created, Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, and I gave you a date. It was actually 1970 that the executive order was issued by President Nixon, but a Republican president, that came out and created this agency, and then all those statutes followed in the early 1970s.
Well, what you're trying to do is, I think, strike a balance somewhere in the middle of cleaning up the environment and protecting industry at the same time, rather than going whole hog in one direction, which is what Obama was doing, and moving us towards a so-called green economy and green energy, which we all know is also a gigantic scam for his friends in the solar business. I mean, I don't even want to get into the corruption of the solar business. I don't think that's necessary for us to do, but we do know that billions of dollars were spent with very little electricity being produced, with solar plants in the Arizona desert, the Nevada desert, the California desert, that were created with money that was flowing in basically through a slush fund. But you have been very strong in coal, in the use of coal. And you're saying the former administration's symbol of Obama's war on coal that threatened 400,000 U.S. jobs is now over. Is there really such a thing as clean coal?
Look, there's technology that we have today that absolutely can be deployed to mitigate against the type of harm that we've tried to address historically under the Clean Air Act. So, I mean, Japan, as an example, has ultra-critical, supercritical coal generation facilities. I think 40 to 45 of those that are very, very good at what they do. We only have one in this country. So,
I know you got to run along, but boy, do I want to speak with you again about my favorite topic, which is nuclear energy. I think we are so under par with regard to nuclear power plants. Where do you stand on that, Mr. Pruitt?
It should actually be a part of the mix. I mean, when you look at the generation of electricity, we need fuel diversity, Michael. We don't need less fuel. We need more fuel in the generation of electricity to address this cost, stability, resiliency of the grid, and obviously the environmental outcomes as well. So it's all those issues combined, and we need fuel diversity.
Well, when we meet in Washington, I'm going to learn as much as I can. I know that Israel runs, to a great extent, on nuclear energy. France runs on nuclear power plants. There are many other nations that have very clean energy sources, which includes nuclear energy. We have not built a new nuclear power plant in, 30 years?
It's tragic, really. I mean, and technology that exists today, Europe is far ahead of us with respect to technology around nuclear power, and we're falling behind. And so we need to embrace that as part of our energy mix.
Well, I know you have to run. I was told in advance you only had time for this one quick hello to the Savage Nation. We are speaking about the environment with Scott Pruitt, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency here in the United States of America. And Mr. Pruitt, I hope to meet with you and other agency chiefs in the near future in the White House and continue this discussion. It's so important to every American.
Thank you, Michael, for the time.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
I don't want to talk about the van driver. I don't want to talk about the waffle job. I can't do it. It's enough already. I know the Pompeo nomination is coming up. This guy is the best. West Point, the real McCoy. And what are the leftists going to do? They're going to vote him down just to spite Trump. How could you vote for a country that has people like this that would vote people down just to get a point over against Trump? Pompeo's as good as they come. He's the American dream. Italian-American man, a great soldier, a Harvard graduate. Why would they vote him down? Why? Because they're stupid. We're going to put like a ninny in there. Why would they attack Pompeo? Can anyone, you want to make it political for a minute? Tell me what's wrong with Mike Pompeo to be Secretary of State. Can anyone listening to this show who is a progressive, which means you're a regressive, who hates America, tell me what you have against Pompeo as Secretary of State. If you could hold a candle to this man's accomplishments, you'd be a great man. But on the, on a comedic level, I said to you, what is France? If I say France to you, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Because to me, it's hard to say. I don't know what France makes. I don't want to kill my deal before I even walk into the lunch. I do drink Santimillon. I have a 95, a case of it that I got from the best wine I ever had in my life. There's 95 Santimillon. It's a class of its own. But I don't know what else they make that I can think of. Italy, say Italy, Ferrari. You say Czechoslovakia, pornography. I don't know what else. It's just the way the world is associational. So if I say to you, what does the word France trigger in you? What do you think of? So I'm going to the French luncheon tomorrow. It's a big deal for me, making a mockery of, if you will. Oh, big deal. Oh, you're in the White House, the West Wing. Big deal. Big deal to me, immigrant son, real big deal. It's been a long road getting here. So I was on a Drudge Report this morning, and I saw an odd story. It said, robots could outnumber humans in just 15 years and will feel genuine emotions. I was tired, but I said it sounded like Queens College when I was 18 years old. Like the girls. That's why I left New York, was it? Robots can outnumber humans in just 15 years and will feel genuine emotions. Like the girls at Queens College when I was 18. So I fled New York. Look what I found in San Francisco, rim shot. So here we are, and I'm asking you, if you were me, just for a minute, you're in Washington, you're riding high, things are going well. You're going to go to the lunch tomorrow, the French State Luncheon. Vice President Pence so kindly is hosting that one. And you had, let's say, a minute with the President of France, given the times we are in, and you and me, what would you say to him in that 1 minute? I don't think I'm going to do the wise guy line, la peu de la police et la début de la sagesse. I don't know what I'm going to say. It's a clever line, but what does it have to do with anything? If my audience can come up with something better, I'll say it. But so far, that's not bad. Because the French like wit. Let me tell you that right now. And they like a turn of phrase. But what would you say to him? Thanks for your help in Lebanon. I mean, thanks for your help in Syria. Thanks for bombing a man who didn't ace his own people. I mean,
Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.